It is Book Review Sunday, and today's review is going to be a little bit different. Normally, I review two books and I do one at a time. Today, I will be reviewing six books because they are all within the same series, and they are all novellas, which means they are quite short, so I should be able to fit all of them into this episode. And this particular series is going to be reviewed together because each story builds on top of each other. Now, I know that's generally the point of a series is that there is a larger plot that continues, but with this particular series, the larger plot is the main plot, and it just starts in book one and goes all the way to book six, and so it's just better to simply review them all together. So let me tell you what this series is. This series is called the Dazon Agenda series, and it is a science fiction romance series. So as the larger plot is unfolding, each book covers a different romantic couple with their part in the plot. And that's why I'm reviewing all of them together. So this is science fiction, and what makes it science fiction is that we have aliens involved, and the aliens naturally have better technology than the humans on Earth do. So in each book, the male in the romantic couple is an alien from the Dazon species, and the female is a human from Earth. And the authors of this series are Juno and Aurelia Skye. So we're going to jump in with book one because book one is our intro book. The story for book one is going to introduce the reader to the entire world and the main plot. So, book one is called Written in the Stars, and our romantic couple are Jada and Ryland. Jada is the human female, and Ryland is the Dazon alien male. So, right off the bat, we are dealing with a secret alien invasion on Earth. And this is already different from most alien stories. Usually, the invasions are quite loud and known because they come in with lasers blazing. This time around, the aliens are going to sneak on to Earth, and they are going to use their greater technology to create a disguise to make them look human. And this leads to a nickname for their human disguise, which our female characters call Mr. Bland, because they just look like an average human. They have zero expression, nothing stands out about them. It kind of reminds me of The Matrix, to be honest. And the reason that these aliens are here is that their planet has recently gone through a biological warfare, and their women or their females have either died off or are infertile. And so they need to repopulate, and they need to find a species that is compatible with them. And through scientific testing and research, their scientists, led by who I'm going to call the evil Dr. Ha, have discovered that human women with Kaiser's syndrome are a genetic match for breeding. Now, I'm going to pause talking about the story here and do a little Kaiser syndrome tangent here. So, I'd never heard of this disease, and when I just took, I accepted what was taught in the books about this disease. And when I was preparing to do this review, I decided that I should do some research on my own just to double check. And I'm glad I did because I found some confusing information. So, in the book, Kaiser syndrome is a genetic disease that's on the X chromosome, and that it mostly affects women of African descent, and women of Indian descent. When I decided to search it up online, that is not what it is. At least that's not what I could find. Um, According to Google and the websites that Google found for me, Kaiser syndrome is a birth defect that happens um, during gestation that's caused by some type of injury or problem with the placenta. So it's kind of a birth injury. And so it's not genetic, it's not on a chromosome or anything like that. So I tried to do some more digging, looking at comments in the chapters because this series is on a reading app called Redict, which allows the users to make a comment after each chapter if they wish to. And those who also brought up this disease also were in the same boat as me, where the way it's described in the series does not match what we were able to find online. So there's a couple possibilities going on. Either the authors decided to use this disease's name and then they embellished it for their story, which I think is fine because this is science fiction. Or the authors mixed it up with a different disease, which I couldn't find what that mix up could have been. Um, so I'm not really sure what to make of that. I didn't look up the disease before I read the whole series, so it didn't affect my read of the series. And even so, it doesn't affect my review right now anyway, because the larger plot is still really great. So going back to the story. So women with this world buildings version of Kaiser syndrome are the genetic match for the Dazon species. And so the evil Dr. Ha and those who work for him start finding these women and kidnapping them and preparing them to become pregnant. And the Dazon species has, like mentioned before, much more advanced technology than Earth does. And so one of their technologies is this nanobot type of technology where you wear these nanobots and it heals you and controls your clothing and stuff like that. And so they are able to help these women overcome the symptoms and the effects of their disease, but they're not going to until they're pregnant. So Jada is one of these human women who has this disease, and she's confined to a wheelchair, and she has to wear a wrist brace to help her actually be able to move her hands. Otherwise, it's too painful, kind of like arthritis. And so Mr. Bland shows up at her door, but he's not one of the bad guys. He is trying to find the kidnapped Earth women because he thinks that this is wrong and that their government can't just kidnap Earth women, that they should have a diplomatic relationship with Earth to try to convince the women to volunteer to birth these alien babies. So his name is Ryland, and him and Jada meeting introduces the final chunk of the world building for this first book, which is called the Mating Flare. So this is a fated mate type of thing going on. The Dazon species thought the mating flare died out during the biological warfare, but it turns out they just simply couldn't feel it because there were no females around for them to feel it with. So Jada is Ryland's fated mate, and they are going to work together to find the kidnapped Earth women and rescue them while they fall in love doing so. And this is going to lead us into book number 2, which is Aliens Babies, and this is Jasminda and Valkor's story. And so this story is going to teach the reader about how these hybrid pregnancies are going to work. So Jasminda is one of Jada's friends, and they met because they have this disease, and she is one of the kidnapped Earth women. It is her disappearance that puts Jada into searching for what is going on. And so Jesminda's story starts at the beginning, right after of the Earth Women being rescued. And she's uh, been given the nanotechnology, so these symptoms of the disease that were crippling her body are no longer hurting her. She still has the disease, she just doesn't have the symptoms anymore. So she can walk again and her limbs work and she's not in pain anymore. And she learns that the IVF that the evil Dr. Ha performed on her was successful and she is pregnant. And so the reason why I want to clarify that this is IVF is because Jesminda's romance story is with the father of her alien babies, Valcor. So Valcor is not a part of evil Dr. Ha's gang. His DNA was taken without his permission and implanted into Jesminda's eggs. So they meet each other with the knowledge and information that your DNA was put together to create life against your knowledge and against your consent, but it is your DNA, so you guys need to decide what to do with these babies that are now growing inside of Jesminda. Babies plural. She's pregnant with triplets. And so, lo and behold, Valcor and Jesminda are fated mates. He feels the mating flare with her, so he wants to keep the babies. He wants her to accept him and for them to become a family. But both he and the alien doctor, who is not with evil Dr. Ha, both do agree that, Jesminda gets to make the final decision on whether she keeps the pregnancy or not. They hope she chooses to, but they will respect her decision if she doesn't want to. And while she's trying to decide, she feels attracted to Valcor. She doesn't want to accept that she's his fated mate, but he does make her feel beautiful and accepted and loved, which is something she hasn't felt in a long time because her fiance left her when she was diagnosed with her disease. And she's not the only human woman who does have a successful pregnancy. And so with these rescued women being placed back into the world, and as some of them choose to keep the pregnancy viable, they have to figure out what to do because they are going to give birth to aliens that are most likely not going to look 100% human. And so aliens are announced to the world in this second book, which is going to raise the stakes and the drama for the next chunk of the series. So our third book is called Diplomatic Affairs, and our couple for this third book is Embeth and Isak. So Embeth is our human female and Isak is our male Dazon alien. And we are going to leave Earth and go to the Dazon planet. And so now that the aliens have found Dr. Ha and brought him back to their planet, the human governments know that aliens exist and know that they were on Earth doing awful things to their women. They both need to move forward as a species, knowing about each other and what they are going to do about this knowledge and the need that the Dazon Empire has to repopulate. So they send Embeth as the ambassador for Earth to the Dazon planet. And I think it was really great that they did this because the Dazon Empire is predominantly male, not just in population, but in traditional gender roles. The surviving female Dazons do not get to walk around in society. They are tucked away and used for breeding purposes. And so sending a female human to be the ambassador for the diplomacy was very telling of how Earth feels about the situation. That it's going to be all about protecting their women and letting their women have a choice. So Embeth comes from the United States, so we have this democratic representation, and she is going to a planet that has an emperor or a monarchy. So Isak is the second prince of the empire, and he is tasked with basically being Embeth's welcome wagon and being her escort to all of the events that she's going to go to. And lo and behold, he feels the mating flare for Embeth. And his older brother, who is the crowned prince and going to be the emperor one day, is on evil Dr. Ha's side and wants to just go to Earth and snatch up all the women and bring them back to the Dazon planet and force them to become mates to all the Dazon males. So the emperor is kind of playing both sides of the fence. At first, he is going to pretend to listen to both sides while he's waiting to make his decision, but he really already has his decision made the whole time. But while he's playing both sides of the fence, the evil Dr. Ha sets forth his next evil plan with the approval of the first prince, and that is their new technology that they've been working on and inventing is going to infect any woman they want with Kaiser's syndrome. So instead of waiting for someone to be born with it and to do all that genetic testing, blah, 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 let's just infect everyone. And so we can pick and choose which women we want. And this is going to lead to a very violent coup in the palace that Embeth and Isak are going to have to escape from, which is going to lead us into story number 4, Moon Madness. This is Mary's story and Oryx's story. Mary is our human female and Oryx is our Dazon male. So we are leaving the Dazon planet. We're not quite back to Earth yet, and we are now on the moon that circles Earth. So with this diplomacy going on between Earth and Dazon, the Dazon Empire has shared some of their technological advancements and scientific knowledge with humans, and we now have a consulate on the moon. So humans live on a type of satellite shuttle thing on the moon. Some of the Dazons live there as well with the humans while they continue to work on diplomacy. So this is where Mary and Oryx are. Mary works in the orphanage that's on the moon. So not every human woman survives giving birth to these alien babies. And the ones who unfortunately died in childbirth are not there to care for their babies. And the human women's families, either they didn't have families or were separated from their families before they got kidnapped, or their families are so distraught over the death of their daughter due to the circumstances that they don't want to raise those babies. And then the Dazon fathers of those babies aren't interested in caring for them either, for various reasons. So Mary's this human woman who is taking care of these babies on the moon. And Oryx is a Dazon military general who defected from the military during the coup, and so he is on the moon consulate to help Earth defend itself against the impending war that is about to happen. So once again, the mating flare shows itself, and these two are going to fall in love while Mary is taking care of the babies and also having moments where she needs to protect them from some traitors. and while Oryx is making battle plans. Story number 5, Across the Stars. This is Amelia and Titus's story, and this one is half the length of the others. So the others are already a novella, so they're short. This one is a novelette, and so this is even shorter. And I have a theory based on what the authors have written about this. They say this is to bridge the gap between book 4 and book 6. So I think this might have been written last. They wrote 5 books and realized there was too much of a gap between book 4 and 5, and so they snuck this one in as book 5, and then book 5 became book 6. But I could be wrong. That's what I interpreted when I was reading about each one. So this one does 2 things. One, it shows the next level of defecting and traitors among the different Dazon military commanders and soldiers. And then it also introduces us to another ability that these aliens have, which is called Shay power. So Titus is one of the soldiers or generals that are fighting on the Emperor's side. And or the new emperor. So we have a new emperor now. It's the first prince, and he is going to war with Earth to get their women. So he has a much stronger ability to feel his Shay than other Dazon aliens do. And so the Shay power is kind of like what we would call a sixth sense, or maybe a gut feeling, or I guess if you're spiritual, guidance from a higher power type of a thing. That's what this is. And so he listens to his Shay power, and it tells him whether a choice is a good or a bad choice. And so it helps him navigate his way through his life. And so the Shay power tells him to not defect right away. So he's going to come in with the invading army for the first battle. His ship is going to get shot down, and he crash lands on Earth, and then his Shay power is going to lead him to his fated mate, Amelia. They're going to have a spicy little scene in her house before they zoom up to the moon consulate, and he has all of this information about the Emperor's military and plans that will help them prepare for the second battle better than they were prepared for the first one. Which is going to lead us into our 6th and final story for this series, Emperor's Assassin Bride. And this is Jordan and Sasha's story. Jordan is our human female, and Sash is our Dazon male. So Jordan and Sash both live on the moon consulate. Jordan is the daughter of the President of the United States. And in this series, the President of the United States is a woman. And Jordan has a difficult relationship with her mother because her mother has been a politician her whole life. And so she has to live this perfect life under the microscope all the time. And she just wants to have a relationship with Sash. Sash does not feel the mating flare with Jordan. And so even though he's drawn to her and he's falling for her, because he's watched all these other Dazon males feel the mating flare with human females, he believes he's not supposed to be with Jordan, even though he's head over heels for her. And so he keeps her at an arm's length, and her heart is breaking and his heart is breaking, but they both think that he is eventually going to meet his fated mate and then leave Jordan, so they're falling in love while trying to keep each other at arm's length. During all this relationship drama between the two of them, evil Dr. Ha takes the next step in his evil plan, which is to do this genetic testing and determine which human female is best for which Dazon male, so they know that's the female they need to kidnap. And turns out Jordan is a genetic match for the new emperor, Isak's older brother. And Jordan is disgusted, and she absolutely is not going to go to the Dazon planet and become the mate to this terrible male, but her mom tells her that she needs to because they have a plan. Plus, he sends a message that says, if Jordan marries me by choice, then instead of kidnapping human women, we will simply reach out to them. You are dramatic. Yes, it is dramatic. You are a genetic match to this male. So why don't you guys get to know each other and see if you can like him? And if they decide they can't like him, we won't make them. Jordan doesn't trust this um, deal, and quite frankly, neither does her mother, but they're going to pretend to trust it. And her mother says, while you are on the planet and you're gaining his trust and he's taking you to bed, you need to find a way to kill him. Sash hates this plan because it's going to risk Jordan's life. And so, in this final showdown between the two species, not only do the Dazon males that have joined forces with Earth need to overcome their own brothers who are evil, Sasha also needs to save Jordan's life. And so this is going to be a finale of epic proportions, and it is a wonderful ending to the series. So now that I've explained each couple and where their story falls in this larger plot, let's review the entire series as a whole. So as a whole, I would give the entire series 4 stars. And the things I liked about it are this twist on the genetic match testing. I've read other genetic match alien stories, and this one is a bit more unique. And particularly with the fact that their perfect genetic match is a woman who is not perfectly fit and healthy. I also liked that the larger plot continues from book to book in the way that it does. I've never read a series like this, and so that was really cool. And when it comes to any type of science fiction involving aliens, I am always so impressed with the author's creativity because they have to make up a species, give that species a name, describe how they look so that we can visualize it, give the species a history, give them a culture, maybe even give them a language and a religion, and all this stuff. And all of this world building for this made up species doesn't always make it in to the books, but it has to be there in the background so that even if we don't learn everything about them, as the reader, we can still see that they are a truly fully developed community. And so authors who are able to do that, I mean, honestly, props to you. I think that's amazing. And the last thing I like is the racial diversity with our human females. So we have 6 human females, main characters, and of those 6, one of them is Indian, 3 of them are African American, and 2 of them are white. And so this is a great representation for racial diversity and a little bit of representation for those with disabilities. However, giving them the nanotechnology to overcome it, I can see how might not be a true representation because they kind of get rid of it in order to give them the aspects of the plot and stuff. And since this is a romance series, our intimacy heat level is going to be spicy for this particular series, or 4 flames. So, if you like science fiction and aliens and romance, particularly spicy romance, check out the Dazon Agenda series by Juno and Aurelia Skye. If you've read this series already, let me know in the comments what your thoughts were about it. And if you haven't, I would love to hear some recommendations from you that are similar. Hit that subscribe button so that you can know when the next episode comes out, and I will see you next time.